talk a little bit about MES Menu Security. When you're working with your EKW handheld, when it comes to how we control what our employees have access to, there are a couple ways we can do that, but the more in-depth way to do that is going to be through MES Menu Security. So on my screen, you'll see my handheld, and you'll see if I go over to my main menu, I scroll through my menu options, I have just about everything. If I'm a company that doesn't use some of these options, though, it might be helpful to hide them or get rid of them, or maybe there's certain things that I only want specific types of users to have access to, such as something like a quantity adjustment. To enable the enhanced security, we're going to go down to Settings, and we're going to go into General Settings. And in here, we're going to go down to where you see Use MES Menu Security. What that's going to do is it's going to kick out the default security and adopt your MES Menu Security. We do not want to enable that, though, until we've made our selections in Kinetic. So up here in the background, I have my Kinetic screen, and I've just searched for MES Menu Security Maintenance. And you'll see I have this category over here, EMWW, one of the many names for Epicor Kinetic Warehouse, Epicor Mobile Wireless Warehouse. These are the settings that we are going to be interested in. If you'll notice, everything over here really closely resembles exactly what in the app. So what we do is we need to enable. By default, all of this is going to be disabled. We need to enable it. So in my test environment, I've already enabled this parent menu for all types of employee roles. So I have these employee roles: shipping and receiving, material handler, production, shop supervisor, and service technician. Where I set these up on my employee is going to be in my employee record. So I'm using my employee ID 100. That's the one I'm logged in as on my handheld. And you can see that my employee 100 is listed as service tech, material handler, shop supervisor, shipping and receiving, and production worker. So every security option that is checked in my MES Menu Security, this person's going to have access to. You can use these groups to make your own security groups. And you may include something like your trackers. Everyone's probably going to want access to something like a part tracker. So I would go in and I would make the selection for each of these employee types. These are going to be additive, not subtractive. By default, when you enable MES Menu Security, your employees are not going to have access to anything. You must come in here and toggle everything on so that they have those permissions. If you find yourself where you're one of the folks, it happens, who comes in and toggles on Use MES Menu Security before you're ready to, and find out that you don't have credentials for anything, what you're going to do is you're going to come down to your settings, and first you're going to make sure this parent settings is enabled for the employee type or the employee role that you want to configure, and then make sure general settings are also enabled. That's what's going to give them the ability to set that or reset it if necessary. So I'm going to go back to my handheld, and now that I've made some of these selections, I'm going to go ahead and toggle this on, and I'm going to use my home button, and you'll see that things have changed. Instead of having all my favorites that I had before, I no longer have access to those based on my employee role. I only have access to the very specific things that I selected for my employee role. My employee, again, employee 100, has access to all employee role types, so anything that was selected from within the MES Menu Security, I now have access to. But I decide I didn't get everything correct. I want to toggle this again. I'm going into my settings. Whoops. And now I'm going to untoggle the Use MES Menu Security. And I'm going to go back home. My favorites have been returned, and I now have access to everything. There are a few things that this is really nice for. One is controlling something like adjust inventory, which you may not want every employee to have access to. Maybe reserve that, only give it access to one specific type of employee. And then when you set up your employee record, only give maybe a shop supervisor, material manager, things like that access to that employee role. Another one is maybe you don't use PCIDs. You have the ability to hide things just by selecting this hidden. So if you don't need it, you can hide it, so it's going to keep people from accidentally clicking in the wrong area. So that is your handheld MES Menu Security Maintenance in a nutshell.